Somebody asked a question about Iran. You guys heard about Iran and uranium?
I want to get Pat's opinion on this, so please let's talk about this.
Enriching uranium to 20% purity. We got 5 more minutes on this here. Tehran returns to pre-nuclear deal levels of uranium enrichment. The nuclear activity, which returns Iran to an enrichment level that it last reached before entering the international court, dials up pressure on Washington and crosses a red line set by European countries that remained committed to the agreement after the Trump administration withdrew from it in 2018. The move threatens to complicate President-elect Joe Biden's plan to rejoin the deal that placed limits on Tehran's nuclear program, but which floundered after the U.S. left it and reimposed crippling economic sanctions on Tehran. Mr. Biden has said the U.S. would rejoin the deal as long as Iran complies with the terms. The enrichment activity also raises tensions in the Middle East, which, when the region is already on edge during the waning days of Trump administration. Iranian forces seized a South Korea flagship on Monday, according to a semi-official Iranian news agency. Heightening tensions with the U.S. ally forces boarded the vessel because it was creating unspecified pollution in the Persian Gulf. The agency said the vessel owner, DM Shipping of Busan, South Korea, didn't respond to calls. What do you think what's going on right now with this oil?
I want to get your opinion more than Tom and I's. This is something that I think right in your wheelhouse. I know a couple episodes ago, you kind of enlightened us on what the pros and cons are. Were a lot of cons on the Iran pay for play. All right, stop, do this. Just unpack it all.
Basic. Iran historically, anybody in Iran who, so politically think about it this way. I showed a chart, which I can't do it here, but I'll just show it to you this way. Okay, if there is a Republican president, or a Democratic president, the Democratic president, Republican leader, you have a Democratic president there, Republican leader. So, if the leader is Republican in Iran, they fear Dems. So the Shah, Republican, right, conservative, he fears a Carter. If the country is hardcore right now, where it's Hezbollah's, don't bother, don't do any of that stuff, and they're not pro-America, they're not Westerners, they don't believe in the freedom of speech type of deal, where the Shah wanted to give all these freedoms to people. You don't need to put on, your job. You don't have to do all this stuff. You're free. Women can do this. Women don't have to marry at 13. He wanted to increase the age. You have more voice. You have to do this. Okay. The left kind of didn't like that. And then on the other side, if it's hardcore controls, they don't like Republicans, because Republicans want to give you more freedom. They want people to have freedom of speech. They want people to have freedoms. But when it's hardcore like this, they kind of like Democrats, because they don't fear Democrats. Because Democrats just want to say, listen, it's okay. Let's just make it work. It's not a big deal. What can we give you for you not to be, we'll make you happy. So Biden, they're so happy about President-elect Joe Biden. Iran, the current regime of Iran, is so happy about Biden. And when Biden comes back into power, comes into power, when this thing takes place, whatever the chances are, everybody's talking about 30%, 5%, 99.9%, 0%. When this thing happens and Biden's there, the deal's going to come up. There's no question about it. The deal's going to come up. There's no question about it. They're going to go out there to rebuild. And even more than that, do you really think, whether they have the money or not, do you think they're going to listen to anybody? My biggest thing has always been accountability. How do you hold those guys accountable? They don't sit there and say, we're not going to do what you tell us to do. We're going to do whatever we want to do. That's their mentality. You don't tell us what to do. They'll take your money gladly and turn around and say, death upon America. They don't look at America as a partner. They look at America in a different way. But in this situation here, this is their way of saying, we're already going back into it. And if you don't give us the money, here's what we're going to do. So it's a way of saying, hey, Biden, prepare yourself, because you're about to have to give us.
It's a hostage situation.
Exactly what it is.
So this 20% purity, and I'm no nuclear scientist, breaking news here. What does that mean? What happens when it gets to 30%, 50%, 80%? What I think we can all agree.
When I
we
left
don't
my career in nuclear scientist, I decided to go into insurance after nuclear plants that we had all over Iran.
Bring us back to your roots, Pat. When you were an Iranian scientist.
Hey, here's the percentage you have to worry about. If Iran gets a nuclear weapon, there's a 100% chance they probably use it. That's why you have to do whatever you can to make sure they don't get it.
But even if they do use it, does that not automatically mean that they are wiped off the planet? Because Israel will use it on them, the United States will use it on them, Saudi Arabia will, whatever they'll do. So It's the same reason North Korea is not using it, right? Like North Korea, you send a missile, you no longer exist. So doesn't that where does that factor into the hostage situation, and they do what they want to do?
Hey, do you think Biden's going to get rid of all the sanctions on Iran, because they work? When you put sanctions on Iran and you cut their economy off, it works, especially when you get the whole world to participate.
Tom, I think there's a 70% chance he does, 30% chance that he does not.
So if you enjoyed this little short segment from the podcast that we did, here's another short segment to watch. Or if you want to see the entire podcast, click over here. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.